Rob. Good. Is it football season yet? Is it football season yet?
We're gonna use the F word today.
Let's use it.
Let's football. Yes.
I'm ready for spring football alert.
Yeah. I love basketball. Trust me. I mean, national championship for the SEC.
Got to move on, Rob. Basketball season's over now. It's over.
I agree with you, but it is going to be a lot of fun talking about all the stories on college football, SEC spring practices. So take a picture with your cell phone of the QR codes. We're on Twitter, X, broadcasting live. We also are on YouTube. We have the YouTube channel. It's unbelievable. It's growing. We're adding shows to this channel. We do it every day, it seems like, but we're always there.
Every day, all night.
Yeah. And you can anytime. Brendan, here's a question someone asked me. If I'm on a plane flying from Atlanta
Is this a math question? Because I don't know. It's like, because I don't do math.
They can watch it live in the air, can't they? Once
Can I
they
use AI to
Yeah.
answer this? Okay, yes.
Okay.
The answer is no, you cannot stream to most planes from any YouTube channels or anything like that. You can't watch. That's how they get you, Rob. They want you to watch the movies, see? So they don't give you enough bandwidth to really watch any Netflix or anything like that. So, but you do have the option if you're a YouTube Premium subscriber, you can download things to go.
Okay.
Don't ask me about that.
That's big.
You can Google it.
I got a lot of friends, and they say when I fly, I love to listen and watch. And if I'm driving,
I'm going to have a talk with you and your friends on the text message list. You're all in trouble, all of you. By the way, Daddy's going to text you all. You're all in trouble with me.
You're right.
You're all on timeout. Can we start the show, for God's sake?
Yeah, let's start the show, man. We've got a great one today. We've got Oakley McFerrin, the intern from Auburn. We've got Jordan Davis Hill's going to check in just a few minutes from up on the classic city in Athens, talking Georgia Bulldogs. Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, will check in from the northwest corner of Arkansas, and Vince Ferrara up on the hill in Knoxville from the Sports Animal. And man, I mean, these guys are true grit journalists. Vince is doing Vol baseball on the radio with the voice of the Vols, John Wilkerson. Lot to cover. Oakley, and let's talk with you right now. You are Mr. Hipster. You're in college. You understand Chat GPT and AI. Brendan understands it on another level. He could write a book about it. But when you are out there surfing for shows, and you say, how do I find them? What methods do you use to find sports talk? Because something Buddy Martin and Brendan and I and France have been talking about this week, it seems like some of ESPN spends so much time covering everything, they're not really focusing on anything. So to kind of get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to find certain shows that focus directly on the topic you want. But if you're trying to follow a sports team, if you don't know if you know the Locked On team, so they follow every sports team, and they do 30-minute shows every day, and they go pretty in depth on everything. So that's what I do for Auburn specifically. But just shows like that really are based on just one school or one team.
Yeah, so the myopically focused route. Because, Brendan, they have GatorbaitMedia.com. And, Brendan, I told your dad this yesterday. I'm listening to a sports show in Memphis yesterday afternoon, and there was a reporter on from Jacksonville, Florida, and he's on every week. He's really good. And they were talking about Florida winning the national championship in basketball. And the question was asked, do you think Steve Spurrier even knows they have a basketball team? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, Buddy said he goes to the games and Todd Golden comes to his restaurant. And I have learned more about the Gators, say from GatorbaitMedia.com. And I look at AU Undercover, who we work with now. We have a show, Oakley, with Ronnie Sanders, Jason Caldwell, and the guys. And the amount of work that goes into covering these teams, Brendan, as you can elaborate, it never stops. And so I just was curious about that. All right, Oakley, let's get your thoughts here real quick on what happened in the Final Four. We all know that the Gators won. Auburn didn't, but the SEC had a hell of a year. But I want to get your thoughts on what do you want to see happen at Auburn in spring practice with football. It's been a rough patch, but the roster has been improved in a way that 2 years ago it was the worst I've ever seen in my lifetime. Now it's a lot better. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so one area I don't think people give enough credit to Hugh Freeze is they don't understand where Auburn's roster was when he came in. They don't really understand how depleted it was.
Yeah.
So he's really done a great job to turn it all around. We've got, I'd say our receiving core could probably compete with anybody in the country. I mean, you've got Cam Coleman, who's 5-star plus recruit. Then you got Eric Singleton, the top receiver in the portal. Horatio Fields, who not a lot of people are talking about. He was the 9th receiver in the portal. You've got Malcolm Simmons, who was a 400-yard receiver last year as a true freshman. Then I'm hearing a lot of good things about Sam Turner, who's a freshman out of Atlanta, South DeKalb High School. So,
yeah.
And then you've got – so I think we're going to run a lot of 4 receiver sets this year. And then you've got – that tells me there's faith in the O-line. And I think Auburn always has a pretty good running back, so I'm not too worried about that. Our defense is going to be – we returned almost everybody from last year, so – I think we're pretty much set there. We've got one of the top defensive coordinators in the country. So it comes down to quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. And DJ Durkin, I do think he's really good. And you look at Alabama, they've got to get back to the basics, but I think they've got a better quarterback in Ty Simpson for the system they run.
Yeah,
would you agree?
DeBoer is a really heavy air raid guy like he was with Michael Penix. So he needs someone kind of can see the field, not just one Milroe's game. He's not a decision-making type of guy. And I think Ty Simpson will be good at managing the offense, finding the right guy to throw the ball to, maybe not making the superstar plays that Jalen Milroe made, but kind of a game manager.
Yeah. Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. And you go to a lot of games. If you expect the team to play the full 60, you got to stay the full 60. You never leave early. You and the red guy, I'm the same way. How good can LSU be this year? This is year 3. Brian Kelly wins 10 games is what he does. But LSU fans, even Ed Orgeron won a national championship at LSU.
Yeah. Obviously, LSU is always going to have the athletes. They didn't have the defense the last 2-3 years to compete at a high level, but through big transfer portal additions, they added one of the best edge rushers, Patrick Payton from FSU, and then Mark Pyburn from Florida. And they had a Darion Brown at receiver. I'm really high on Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the nation coming into this year. So, I mean, if their defense can play at a mediocre level, they'll be an elite team in the SEC.
Yeah, no, the SEC, I said this last night on the Buddy Martin show with Buddy and friends. The SEC has loaned the national championship out the last couple of years to Michigan and Ohio State. It's a big-ass deal when you win a national championship in anything. It's great for the conference. You see the SEC reclaiming the national title this year. Who's it most likely to come from? In a way too early prediction.
I think the reason that SEC struggled a little bit last year in that department was quarterback play. So that's really what it relies on. I mean, some of the top guys just didn't perform as well as they should have. So, I mean, this year is kind of a weird year because you got a lot of young guys coming in trying to make a name for themselves. But if Arch Manning's who they say he should be, Texas will be up there. If Gunnar Stockton can play, even how he did in that bowl game, that gave me a little bit more confidence in him. So I'd say Georgia and Texas are probably your 2 best chances, but you always have dark horses. South Carolina could be a team with Lenora Sellers. You can't count out Alabama.
Yeah, you can't. Now, you go back to Florida, and you've heard on this show, and Brendan and the Gator Bait team has been way ahead of this one about DJ Lagway, about whatever, the shoulder injury, whatever. If I picked last year Florida to win 8 games. Most people had them at 3 or 4. They won 8, took the bowl game. This year, DJ Lagway's healthy, and he'll find a way to do it. I got him picked to win 10 games this year. You agree or disagree?
I think they're a 10-win caliber team, but with their schedule, I mean, it's pretty much the same as last year, but flipped. I just can't see 10 wins. I think 9-3, they do get in the playoffs, though. And, I think DJ Lagway's going to take that next step and insert himself to be a top 6 quarterback in the nation, probably.
Yeah. Now, your quarterback when you were in high school at MBA up in Nashville, Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, that guy, I watched him play last year as you did. He can run it, he can throw it, whatever. What's the ceiling on him? I know that was your high school quarterback, but can he be an all SEC quarterback?
I think he's definitely showed some flashes of him being able to be that guy. He went into the Swamp and won by like 20 in his first start ever. He had a great performance, although they lost, and Jordan Hare dropped 41 points and lost on a drop pass. But they added they added 3 elite receivers, but one of their Micah Hudson, their 5-star from Texas Tech, just quit on the team after 3 days spring practice. So, which crazy in the NIL world, but
yeah. Well, I heard a story one time. One of my dad's high school teammates said one time, he said, "You ever been married?" He said, "Yeah, I gave it a shot." He goes, "How long were you married?" He goes, 3 days. So it's just going to tell you, hey, look, let's bring in Jordan Davis Hill, one of the absolute best out there, covers the Dogs for 24/7 Sports. And Jordan, we got our intern from Auburn, Oakley McFerrin, working his way, freshman down there. Jordan, you covered Auburn for 6 years. You now are covering Georgia like nobody else. I'm going to tell you something, Oakley. Start following Jordan on X. It's a nonstop newspaper, the information that comes out on Georgia. Great current, past, historical, not afraid to take an opinion. We're using the F word today. We're talking football again. I have been having withdrawals. Coach Ellis Johnson was supposed to be on with us this morning, had an emergency come up suddenly this morning, can't make it. But what's happening up there? Spring practice is underway. I'm ready for Blind Squirrel Sports to come back to the show because this guy's a Georgia fanatic, along with a lot of other ones out there. But thank you for joining us. Hello.
Appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, Georgia is winding down spring practice. G-Day will be on Saturday, and it's an interesting time. We got to talk to several players last night, and I think there's excitement about being back in Sanford Stadium with some fans. Won't be quite like it'll be in the fall, but they're excited to get out there for G-Day, have this spring game, get this thing underway. And it's not quite, like a game in late August or early September, but Rob, like you were saying a minute ago, we'll make do with a little bit of spring practice and a spring game. We'll make the most of it.
Man, and it's been an incredible basketball season, but you just cannot SEC football. I'm sorry, there's nothing like it. Oakley, jump in here. I know you got some questions about the Dogs, and I love the comments, by the way, from Kirby Smart about I want ballers. I want guys that play. His high school quarterback when he played at NBA was Marcel Reed. We were just talking about that. Oakley, let's get that football fever going. Use the word.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing for the Dogs is what type of play can Gunnar Stockton elevate to? And I want to hear your thoughts on your expectations from him.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think, Oakley, you hit on the biggest question for all of Georgia fans is, what can Gunnar do? And, I thought he was impressive in the 2, I guess, really game and a half that he played last year, SEC championship, and then against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. And, yeah, I mean, the things that we've heard behind the scenes is the offense around him is really impressive. They are very, very high on this receiver room that they've put together. Running backs have come along well. Offensive line still kind of a question, especially because they've had a few guys banged up. But it's sort of the $1 million question is what can Gunnar Stockton do? And, the spring game will give us a glimpse. I already know people are going to put way too much stock in what happens. If he has a big game, he's going to be a Heisman contender. If he struggles, Georgia's doomed and it's going to be a bad season. You can't make too much out of the spring game, but yeah, I mean, people want to see how Gunnar plays. I've heard great things behind the scenes, but again, my thing is always, it's good to practice well and it's good to take care of your business on the practice field, but how do you handle when the bullets start flying, when we're actually in a game and, we're going to have to wait until the fall to really get an answer there.
Yeah. I remember Cam Newton's first spring practice at Auburn. They weren't sure if he could play because they didn't let him go live. and it's interesting. Along that line, the big red wall offensive line for Georgia, how strong, how deep are they this year?
Well, I think they're in pretty good shape. They just need to get healthy. I mean, it's a situation where going into spring, Monroe Freeling, who's going to be the starting left tackle, he's out because of labrum surgery. They've had Drew Bobo, the center. He was dealing with a hyperextended knee. I
Yeah.
don't think that he participated in their second scrimmage, so we'll have to see if he plays at G Day. The guy who I think will be the starting right guard, Daniel Calhoun, had a foot injury. Kirby Smart said it's not serious, but it's enough that he's not going to play at G Day. So they're in pretty good shape, but right now they're not running with the five I think will be starting in the fall.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to watch some of these other guys that are having to step up as a result. Bo Hewley, a guy that's been around, who I think is going to be Georgia's swing tackle this year, a guy that'll play left and right tackle when called upon. Michael Uni, an interior offensive lineman, he's probably going to be the starting right guard for G Day with Daniel Calhoun out. So when you look at G Day specifically, it's kind of more of getting stock of these guys who I think will be backups and who will probably play a decent bit, but they're not probably going to be your starters by the time we get to the fall.
Okay. Oakley?
Yeah, I know Georgia's expecting big things out of transfers, Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch, but who are some other guys in that receiving room that Georgia's seeing step up and kind of elevate coming into the season?
Couple guys I'll give y'all. Colby Young, a guy they got from Miami a couple years ago. I missed a big chunk of last season, but he's back. He has been fantastic by all accounts this spring. And, Noah Thomas, we had a chance to talk to him last night, and he pointed out that, if you put him, and I think Noah's like 6'4", 6'5", on one side, and you put Colby Young, who's like 6'3", on the other, he said, secondaries just aren't going to be able to keep up with us. And I really think those two are going to be big time playmakers. Zachariah Branch, the other transfer, I feel confident he may wind up being Georgia's leading receiver this year. But another guy I'll say who I think kind of floating under the radar, Sakovi White. He's a sophomore, didn't play a ton last year. I was told even before spring practice, he had great winter workouts. He's put it together and consistently been a playmaker during spring. He's a guy, he's not the biggest guy. I think he's like 5'8", 5'9". He's a slot receiver. He's probably going to be behind Zachariah Branch, but Sakovi White's going to get a lot of run. And I think if you pay attention to Georgia this year, you're going to see him make plays over the course of his second season.
How many players did Georgia bring in through the portal this year? Usually it's about 6.
It's something like that. I'd have to sit and count. The biggest focus really was receiver, where they added both of those guys we mentioned, Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas, and then they added 3 defensive backs. They went and got Adrian Maddox from UAB, Jaden Harris from Miami, Zion Branch, who is Zachariah Branch's brother from USC. And I'll give Zion Branch a lot of credit, because when Zachariah committed, they committed at the same time. It was like, man, we got Zachariah, and okay, and we got his brother too. That'll help with depth. I don't think he's necessarily going to start, but he is a very impressive defensive back. He's like 6'1", 210, playing safety, and I think he's going to give Georgia good depth. I think we're going to see him some once the season gets going.
Anybody going to jump on the scene like Malachi Starks did? I think wasn't his first game against Oregon when Georgia won 49-3, and like, hello, Jaden Bolden. How about KJ Bolden? How good is he?
Yeah, KJ will be really good in his sophomore year. If we're talking about some of the true freshmen, the 2 guys that I would say to keep an eye on, I don't know if, the funny thing about that, Malachi Starks, the end of the first quarter, he makes an acrobatic interception. I mean, it's one of the craziest interceptions I've ever seen. That was his first college game. So it's setting the bar high.
First college game.
Yeah, no big deal. The 2 freshmen I would say to keep an eye on, Elijah Griffin, a 5-star defensive tackle that they got, not only because Elijah's had a good spring, but, kind of going back to Malachi, part of why he was able to step up was they had a hole at safety. And now you look at this year's team, defensive tackle, they got some guys, they got some experienced guys, but there is an opportunity for Elijah Griffin. So I'll be watching him. And then another guy, he may not start once the season gets going, but I think he's going to play some once the fall kind of rolls along, and that's Juan Gaston. He wound up being a 5-star for us for 24/7 Sports, and offensive lineman, big offensive tackle. I think that he has really pleasantly surprised everybody. here at Georgia when it comes with how quickly he's picked up on things. And
Yeah.
always very hesitant to really talk up, a freshman offensive lineman in the SEC because the growth you have to be able to play is significant. But I heard great things. I think the biggest thing for him these next few months, they want him to cut some of his weight. If he does that, if he sticks with that, Juan Gaston is going to be a guy that's going to be playing some meaningful snaps this season.
Oakley, you saw last year, and so did you, Jordan and Brendan, Justice Terry, the big defensive tackle out of Manchester, Georgia. I'm thinking late 20s, maybe. I mean, that's the first guy that I take off the bus. Oakley, I know you've got more questions.
Wow.
This great line.
Georgia seems really young. It's like a youth movement going on this year, man. Are they younger? Are y'all younger this year than in the past?
For sure. And part of it's, they've got, I guess, 14, 15 guys that went on to the NFL. So
Yeah.
there is definitely more youth and I'd say probably more so on defense compared to the offense. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where they are young and at the same time, they've done such a good job of stacking talent and going back to what Rob asked a few minutes ago about the portal. The few places they had holes, they went and got experienced guys. So I think they feel good, but they are definitely super young.
Yeah. Hey, Oakley, I know what I was going to say. Another question possibly is, I ask you this kiddingly, do you see these guys on campus? I mean, we all thought they were online and everything like that. But in your opinion, Oakley, what he just said, these freshmen are coming in and they're expected to play. You went to a lot of those camps and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think that's unusual, is it?
No, yeah. I mean, all these guys are alpha males. Like, they want to come in, play, make an impact, and they think they should play, and they all think they're the best. So that's where you see a little frustration when they have to wait till, like, a guy like Quentin Williams didn't play till his redshirt sophomore year. Then played 1 year and was the third pick. So kind of pays off to stick out at some of these schools. And I'm looking at the Georgia defensive depth chart. They have one projected senior to start right now, and that kind of shows you start on defense at Georgia, you're not making it to your senior year. You'll be in the NFL. So
well, I remember Pat Dye Jr. told me that Nick Saban said, "Hey, I want you to take a look at Quentin Williams." He said, "Who?" He's like, he went to Winona High School in Birmingham or Huffman, but started 9 games, number 3 pick in the draft. Is there anybody like that along the line of what Oakley just asked on that Georgia roster? Because I asked that about the portal because Dabo Swinney and Kirby are so similar. If you don't fit that culture, we're not bringing you in.
Yeah, I mean, the guy I immediately think of, and it was a guy, based on that question, as a guy we talked to last night, Ellis Robinson, and he was a 5-star. I think he was Georgia's highest rated signee in the 24 class. And he was a guy that, I think he only played in 3 games last year, but he was asked last night about, why, basically, why did you not portal out? Why did you stay in? He said, I want to be developed. Even when I wasn't playing, I was being developed. So Ellis is a guy that I don't know that he's going to start. Daniel Harris was a guy that kind of beat him for that job last year, but I do think you're going to see a pretty healthy rotation at cornerback. Dalen Everett's the established guy, but Daniel Harris, Ellis Robinson, and another sophomore, DeMello Jones, has really impressed. So they feel good about the depth they have at corner, but Ellis Robinson would be the guy that I'd point to.
Okay. All right. And that's you're talking about the best guy in 24, and who of the 25 class you think? I mean, most of them I'm sure are already enrolled. Anybody standing out in the winter workout? Of course, you get to see so much of practice. What stretching, toe stretches, stuff. Rodney Orr got pulled away tighter and tighter yesterday. He goes 8:30. We get to go to an actual practice. He said, "I'm gonna have to step out today." I said, "Man, take it when you can." Are y'all going to get any opportunities like that?
Yeah, G-Day. That's called G-Day, Rob. We've seen 15 minutes of practice this entire spring, and it was not a lot. I think it was the second practice. No, I mean, the guys I mentioned earlier, Elijah Griffin, Juan Gaston, some of the other freshmen, the receivers, I think they're so deep at receiver, it's probably going to be tough for some of those guys to get run. But C.J. Wiley, a guy they flipped from LSU, or Florida State, rather, that they are really excited about. Talon Taylor, who I think wound up being their highest rated receiver signee. So, and Bo Walker, I'll mention him too.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with a running back in the SEC with the first name Bo and the last name Walker. And
No.
he's done a really good job this spring. And they've had some guys that are banged up and limited. I wouldn't be surprised at G-Day if he's the number 2 back, and we'll see if he's up for the moment.
Yeah. Oakley, one more question. Yeah. No.
Yeah, so Georgia got a highly talented receiver out of the portal 2 years ago, London Humphreys. I was wondering if there was any expectation for him to play. I would say kind of not disappointed, but under expectation last year for being the number 3 receiver in the portal.
Yeah, it was one of those things too, like the Clemson game, that opener, he had a touchdown and it was like, all right, it's on. And he really wasn't quite as productive. But no, I think he's a guy that I'd say 2 years ago, Georgia did a really good job. They had a deep receiver room and you had a really healthy rotation. I mean, guys regularly rotating in and out. Wasn't necessarily the case last season, but I think that's going to be the case again. And I think London Humphrey's not necessarily going to start, but I do think that they're going to play him a lot. And I kind of thought about this when they signed him from Vanderbilt when he went in the portal. They got him as a sophomore. And I think that they would have been totally fine if he came in, really impressed, won a job. But I kind of think that was a long-term pickup where they knew, okay, he's got 3 more years of eligibility. He can have some time to sort of learn what it takes to play receiver. And I think that that's paid off for him. We talked to him last night. He said his confidence right now compared to where he was last spring, his first spring at Georgia, significantly different. Yeah. Understands the offense, feels really good about it. I do think you'll see a lot of London Humphreys this season.
All right, Jordan, I know you got a busy schedule. Let people know how they can follow you. As always, you bring a lot of people to the show, and let us know what we can do to help you.
You bet. Dogs247.com, on Twitter at Jordan Davis Hill, on Twitter at Dogs247. And I want to tell folks, G-Day on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's not on TV. So if you're not going to be there, go to Dogs247. We're going to have that live thread going. You got to keep up. And I think we still have our 50% off sale. So get with it and don't miss what's going on in Sanford Stadium on Saturday.
Hey, absolutely. We'll see you next week. Thank you always so much. Hey, now let me tell you something, Oakley. That's what we're talking about. And start following him. You know how to follow him now on X. But great questions. And let me say something real quick before you go. Winter Timber Outdoors, Athens, Alabama, open every day of the week. Oakley, they are building a big store in Auburn. Right now it's under construction. They're based in Athens, Alabama. Check it out. Rete Masimara GPS. Buy one, get one free. Winter Timber. They've got over 2,000 shotguns, rifles, and handguns in the store. Beautiful store. They've got all your stuff, your Yeti coolers, everything you can think of. The Sitka gear, duck camp, Dixie decoys, all your stuff for your deer stands, your food plots. But let me real quick, turkey season. Slate calls, box calls, and the diaphragm calls. All the camo, the gear, the snake boots, critically important when you're leaned up against the tree. I know that they announced turkey season in West Tennessee along the Mississippi River bottoms temporarily at a halt, but it's open everywhere else, all over the South. Get your gear at Winter Timber Outdoors. Let them know you heard about them on Sidelines. Oakley, here's a great song I'll refer to before you go. Willie Nelson, take off your coat, throw it in the corner, stay a little longer. We wish you could stay longer if you can. And I noticed the picture in the corner of the room. Yeah, Wilson has an autographed a poster. When Cam won the Heisman, there were only 4 of them that someone got him. And one time he and his little brother were wrestling.
Ripped it right out.
No, it broke the frame, but it survived.
Oh, there we go.
Max and Wilson. Yeah, but anyway, we're going to bring in Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, another one of we are so blessed to have. This is his backyard right there.
He's in Augusta already.
13th hole, baby.
That is absolutely gorgeous. But Dudley, this is our intern, Oakley McFerrin. He's a freshman at Auburn and went to NBA. It was kind of cool. His high school quarterback, Marcel Reed, is now at Texas A&M.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So anyway, say hello to our intern. Say hello to my little friend. But Dudley, this is Oakley McFerrin.
Yes, we've been on a few times together, and always enjoyed listening to him. He's one of the up and rising stars.
That's right. That's right. Dudley, or Oakley, actually, before you go, again, stay if you can. You probably got questions. He covers the Hogs like nobody else. And, man, I'm going to tell you something. Basketball, football, baseball, the Hogs, every time you eat a chicken nugget, you are supporting the Razorbacks.
As long as it's a Tyson one. Now, if you do those other brands, I mean,
Are there any others?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's right.
I do most of my NIL by drinking the official beer.
Yeah,
But,
and hanging out in your beautiful backyard, Oakley.
yes, except for the wife. Petra does a wonderful job.
God,
at that. Yeah,
that is gorgeous. We are not worthy, but anyway, Oakley, give him a hog question for it right now, because I'm not suggesting. As far as writing, I would, Oakley, the more you write, like this guy here, the more your brain gets worked out. It's like running every day when you write.
So yeah, of course, Arkansas is bringing back a pretty highly touted Taylor Green. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback. What are you expecting for the win total for Arkansas this upcoming season?
Good question.
Well, they always have the toughest schedule, or feel like they do. I think 7 or 8 games would be something that would be an achievable goal. They just like any other college, they brought in 30 to 40 new guys. So in what we've seen so far in spring drills, you get to see a little bit. And I've been out a few times, but I think that, you worry a little bit about them not having a big time wide receiver. They've got a lot of them that, somebody's going to have to step forward, like Andrew Armstrong, who's going to get drafted pretty soon. And obviously was great for them last year. But you just kind of, I think they feel really good in the second year with Coach Petrino about the quarterback situation, in that not only do they have Kendrick Jackson, a left-hander, who is a sophomore here now, a redshirt freshman, and then you've got Nico's little brother, Madden, who is got a lot of praise yesterday from Coach Petrino, and we get to hear him once during spring drills, and I'm sure he'll be around, at the end of the spring game. But he was very effusive in his praise of the young man, and obviously he's a guy that showed up here at midterm, and he's from a famous family there. Obviously, he's got to catch up on some stuff, but I think Coach Petrino was pretty pleased at the retention of things that he has, and being able to move forward.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead, Oakley. Dudley and Oakley sounds very similar. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Oakley.
Yeah, and then last question: what do you think the set number of wins Sam Pittman has to do to keep his job?
Well, I would have said, it had to be 7 or 8 last year, and I think he's in a better situation now. In the business of college athletics, buyouts and all that kind of thing, hover there. If it goes down quite a bit this year, so if he didn't have a great year, then they may want to change. But they've seemed to put some faith in him, some faith behind him. By not taking him. Deciding not to move along, but they did get to the bowl, obviously, and some of the guys caught touchdown passes and ran to the transfer portal, but in that bowl. But I think they're in a situation where they should have a good year. If they get to 7 or 8, I think you probably stay with him. But there's always going to be a segment of the fan base who. Just ready to move on and have somebody new, have somebody young, have somebody who plays the social media and an NIL game. So, I go into each year saying good luck to you. And, if there's a different one at the next year, then I'll cover him too.
I tell you, Dudley, it's something you say a lot about. You cover the Hogs, and Oakley, follow me here. He's a graduate of the University of Arkansas from Newport, next to Balch. He grew up farming. But what do you say? I am a graduate, but not a what?
Fan. I don't do fan. I know people don't understand. I don't care whether they win or lose. But you have to develop that as you go along. It was tough for me early on because I was worked under Coach Eddie Sutton and Coach Nolan Richardson, who were two of the the great ones,
Legends.
obviously. Yeah. And you know, the affinity when you're first coming out of college and you're first around them, you know, you probably lean toward, what would I guess would be favorable reporting. But as you go along, you realize that you have to report the truth. You are not beholden to the coaches. You're beholden to your customers, your subscribers, and all that. And I take a lot of faith in that. I've been called a homer and been called very, very negative over my years, which means I'm somewhere in the middle, I think.
Yeah. He's a Celtics, Cowboys, and St. Louis Cardinals fan. Give me your trilogy, Oakley. Tell it. I know who one of them is.
Yeah, I'm a Steelers, Warriors, and then Pirates for baseball. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think it's cool though that he is an old soul in a lot of ways. Dudley, talking about Oakley, is a freshman, follows his teams, steadfast loyalty, and knows everything about it. I think that's a cool characteristic. You never leave the game early, do you? Never.
no, sir, never. Stay to the end.
That's the bitter end. I'll never forget Wilson, my son. He knows very well. Penn State was, it looked like, a killer whale eating a seal pup out there. It was awful late in the game. He goes, Dad, where are you? I said, I'm in section 16 with Billy Roberts. He goes, you're not leaving, are you? I said, no, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
But this could be the end of Brian Harsin. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, let's move
I've told the story before that my late wife, Laura, who passed away from breast cancer, when we were dating, we went to a Los Angeles Dodgers St. Louis Cardinal game. She talked me into leaving when the Dodgers were up 8-1 in the 7th inning. I really, really loved her, really thought she was great and all that. So I left. But then the Cardinals came back and won 9-8, and it almost destroyed the relationship before it even really got started.
Wow.
So we don't do that anymore.
All right, Rob, I've got to go to class.
First class. Oakley, thank you so much. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds
Appreciate it. Oh,
You too, bud.
Dudley, I tell you, your backyard. And is that you go?
When you
to-
look like me, when you have the face for radio like me, you've got to have something to distract everybody.
Hey, we're on TV. Remember that we're streaming
know.
live
I know,
on
but I'm
everything.
telling you, they tell me I have the face for radio. That's
Shit,
just
I mean, you're cool as hell, and I'm telling you, we are trying to get Vince Ferrara to join us right now. Have a little bit of connection issues he's going to work through, but man, you're obviously that's gorgeous in the background. It is Masters Week. It just boom, it's here, and it's going to be wow. Today, I guess you have that Pro-Am, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Dudley, am I accurate in saying this? Because, Buddy Martin, in that era of sports writers, they grew up going to the Final Four, and then you would just drive on to Augusta. And it's just, of all the golf tournaments, and I grew up playing tennis. If I played golf, I probably would play every day of the week. It's so addictive when I do get to play. But of all the golf tournaments that are out there, is this accurate? It's like a college football game because it is all about the tradition, the history, the heroes, the flowers, the grass, the birds. Do they pipe in songbirds or not? As a bird watcher, I recognize those calls. Sometimes if a bird is not native to that region, I'm going to catch it. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I can't say that I watch every round of every golf tournament, but I do watch every round of this golf tournament.
That's
whether
my
it's,
point.
whether it's live or whether I watch it have tape delay if I'm covering something. But I just love it. They latched onto that tradition like no other, but it really is. And the beauty of the course is almost as entertaining as the play. And I know that the first time I ever went there, I just pulled up and walked out onto the course. Apparently, you're not allowed to do that. People came running from everywhere and told me that I couldn't be out there. But I've been back and gone through the regular situations that you do to go out there. It's fantastic. I've had a few guys who have covered and some who have palled around a little bit who've played in it, and they say the thrill is like nothing else you can get when you're walking up the fairway.
Yeah.
It's Magnolia Way, baby. You get there, you feel it. Yeah, Dad took me one year, and I got into trophy room badges and all that stuff.
God.
And, I found my little spot under the oak tree. There's a little bar set up there.
There you go.
For the VIP.
There
And
you go.
they make these little drinks.
And you were 14?
No, I was of age.
Yeah.
I was probably 30. And they make these drinks called the azaleas,
Mhm.
and they are just vodka and some sort of pink drink. And you know, they were flowing that year, and that was like Tiger's first year. He had just met his late
Wow.
wife, and they just started dating, and she was sitting like, I don't know, like a table away from me, and I saw her, and I said, obviously she's a very attractive woman, and especially
Still is.
yeah, still is. And so anyway, I thought I was, you know, pretty cool with my, you know, past. And so I started to chit chat with her. She was just kind of, you know, sitting in my eye line, and boy, it took about 30 seconds, and there were just two Tiger security guards were like, "Rip, rip," that sat right down in
The
between me.
squeeze.
And then not that long later, I find out that's Tiger Woods' girlfriend. So yeah, but that was the Mike Weir one, and I walked 9 holes with Mike Shanahan because I caddied for him all the time, and so he had flown out and stuff. He said, "Oh hey, what's going on? Let's go walk 9 holes." I was like, "Well, this is a treat. I got to walk 9 holes, go watch some great golf," and I had Mike Shanahan. So there you go.
That is cool. God almighty. Former coach of the Broncos.
All those guys that came out, they came through Castle Pines if they played in Colorado. So I caddied for all the starting quarterbacks and the head coaches, for the Buffs, for the Broncos, for everyone. So I always got the obviously got the sports guys out there. That's where they had the international golf tournament and modified Stableford system and all that good stuff. But that is for another time. We got Vince in here. Vince Ferrara.
Here he is.
It's
It's checkerboard orange and white. This crowd at Neyland Stadium is on their feet because here he is from Tampa, Florida, in Knoxville. Vince had some connection issues. You worked through it. You persevered. You hit a speed bump. You just kept going. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. I was going to try to get you to say hello to our intern, Oakley McFerrin, down at Auburn. Next week we can hopefully do that. He can stay a little longer, but you got a lot. I love it. Both of y'all come on here with tons of notes and all. So Vince, the green light is on. Unfasten your seatbelt. You can smoke. You can drink. Walk around the cabin freely. We are at 40,000 feet.
Vince, I'm sorry. I just apologize. Okay, I love you.
It's the coffee.
I'll leave.
I don't think there's cocaine in your coffee.
I'll leave the smoking and the drinking to you guys.
Yeah.
Nothing but water in this bad boy. But yeah, great to be on with you guys as always. There's still, even though basketball has concluded, it's becoming like football. Dudley can attest to this with the portal now and rosters being made over completely for so many teams. Portal season and recruiting, it's becoming a year-round thing and really still on the front of the minds of a lot of Tennessee fans, even though the season came to an end, because there's so many spots to be filled. And normally that is something that's reserved for football. Now there's still interest in looking at football, but now basketball has continued to draw that portal interest. It's that kind of season right now. And, baseball is going in full swing. Arkansas, new number 1 taking over for Tennessee. So we have that in common also. The orange and white spring football game coming up on Saturday. So yeah, there's still a lot going on.
Well, we talked about it with Jordan Davis Hill, 24/7 Sports covers Georgia in the earlier part of the show. They're going to have a G-Day game. Last year, Ole Miss, they had dunking contest, pie eating, weight guessing. What are they going to do in Knoxville for the orange and white game? I know you've had full access to practice every day, access to all the coaches and all. So how can you top that?
Yeah, I'd say yes on the interviews, and they make the entire staff available in rotating fashion. So we had 2 coaches today. It'll be the last 2 coaches on the entire staff. So you usually get 2 to 4 players in addition to an assistant coach, and Josh Heupel will talk once a week. So yeah, the interview and the availability from that standpoint, very good. The practice viewing is usually 2 periods, not a whole lot of juicy stuff in those practices. So that's consistent with the rest of the league.
Yeah.
But at least you can, if you ask the right questions, you can get some information from the coaches and the players on who's performing well and who's made an impact, those kind of things. And like a lot of teams, there have been a lot of guys kind of held out. So then you have to sort of take the information with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
There's numerous very impactful starters that are missing spring, and Jermon McCoy, who became one of the better cornerbacks in the league, Miles Kitchelman, they're really good tight end, one of the better returning tight ends, I'd say, in the league and in the nation this year. Former Alabama tight end, he had an injury, so he's out for the rest of camp. And there's a number of other guys. So yeah, some guys will kind of move up on the depth chart, but what is it when they're back to full strength? So you still have to take some of that information and sort of give it some perspective in addition to what they're saying. But it's still better than no information. And I'm telling you, some of the more impressive interviews we've had have come from true freshmen, and guys just letting their personality out and maybe not being afraid to say things like Travis Smith Jr., 4-star wide receiver from Atlanta. He was asked about, actually I asked him about, does he do much trash talking? Is there any of that? Guys trying to check you early on. Yeah. He's like, no, not really. I think the defensive guys, I'm kind of a big guy. Defensive guys, maybe a little intimidated by me, so you get kind of that youthful quotes where you don't have the full filters going just yet. And so it to me, I reflect back on how many times around this league and in college football, we didn't get a chance to hear from freshmen that probably had some really interesting things to say and interesting personalities. But that time should have passed, and I think is passing with NIL and the ability for these kids to get their brands out early on in their careers.
Great stuff. Dudley and Vince, we all think about when we were growing up, you read the media guide and it talked about all these players. Most all of them in their free time, whatever they had, was hunting and fishing. They played golf or whatever like that. Along the line of what Vince just said, who are some of the freshmen that have come in January at Arkansas that you've had a chance, if you've had a chance, to talk to them? Because I think the more fans can connect to him and go, yeah, he's a lot like me, or I want to be like him, or whatever, I think that creates interest.
I think we see more of the transfer guys that we're getting to talk to. Just a few freshmen, obviously. You see some of them just around campus. They discourage you from bothering them, but then they ask me questions, so I ask them.
There you go.
So, but I do think we were mentioning earlier that Madden. I won't try to say that last name. I'll work on it and get it taken care of. But
Rob knows.
Yeah, Nico's little brother.
Nico Iamaleava. I learned that in South Alabama.
Yeah, he is getting a lot of praise from Coach Petrino, and right now he's riding as the third string quarterback behind Kendrick Jackson, who is the left-handed guy who was here last year. They feel really solid about those three. They don't want to see Talon go down with injuries, but I don't think you would throw the season away if that happens with those two backup guys. Now, I think, in one of the big things, again, they're going to have some freshmen that are going to play, especially wide receivers. But the transfer guys I think they're depending on a little bit more. Although almost everybody that is going to be here next year is already here in January. It's mind-boggling how that happens these days, Yeah,
it really is. And Vince, along the line, Tennessee, I've gotten to know Dan Williams in the Touchdown Club in Memphis, was an all-SEC defensive lineman for Tennessee in 2009, and Coach O was his coach, and told a funny story on this show about Coach O. He said, that first meeting with him, it was great. And then when we were away from the cameras and everything, it was like, but you got to have those moments. Who are some coaches on the Tennessee staff, if they brought some new ones in, everybody has turnover, that are really sticking out to you?
Well, he's not new, but Rodney Garner is the most interesting.
Coach G.
Yeah, because he's
God Almighty.
He's a truth teller.
Yes.
And he checks those guys from the get-go, but he also loves on them too. So man, his players are so loyal to him.
Yep.
And so he's always really interesting to listen to. As far as a younger coach, a guy that's going to talk this morning after Tennessee's 12 practice is Kelsey Pope, wide receivers coach.
Wow.
He's one of three guys on the staff that have been elevated from sort of the GA quality control type of roles into full-time assistants. They did it with Lavorne Harbin. They know him is known as Chop Harbin. He's coaching the outside linebackers now after Mike Eckler went to Nebraska as a special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. But Kelsey Pope, just very unique personality. Another guy that I think tells it like it is, a true teller, but also young and energetic, really good recruiter. And a pretty positive guy also. So that wide receiving group, man, there's a lot of attention on it. It's one of the more talked about groups, besides obviously quarterback, is you guys know that always draws attention. But man, they have Chris Brazzell, Mike Matthews, and Braylon Staley. They do not have very much production back from last year. Everybody else is is a freshman. So and then one transfer in Amari Jefferson, who was at Alabama last year because he wanted to play for Saban, picked Alabama over Tennessee, didn't play last year, dealt with a sort of a hip injury. Yeah. And now, because Saban obviously isn't the coach anymore, went to Tennessee. He was a former Tennessee baseball commit for a long time before opting football and going to Alabama to play football. Now he's back at Tennessee. Now he's at Tennessee exclusively for football, and he's been still not fully recovered yet. So, but that wide receiving group is not big, and a lot of times it takes a second year for Tennessee wide receivers to make an impact. They can't wait that long for this group. They just don't have enough of those guys, unless Mike Matthews, they're the 5-star in his second season, unless he has a breakout year.
And Mike's another one of the Metro Atlanta guys. I mean, I think about Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties in South Florida. Typically 100 D1 players a year come out of those three. Mm-hmm. Metro Atlanta now, guys, went from 5 to about Billy Roberts, my roommate from college, lives in Brookhaven, says it's 22 counties now and 6.5 million people. I'll put it up against anybody. Dudley, question from Razorback Scott Paulo, friend of mine, played quarterback Little Rock Parkview. He had a tight end named Keith Jackson. He said that was a lot of fun.
I bet.
Scott said the scariest I've ever had. Scott, we're all the same age. Scott said we're playing Pine Bluff Dollarway High School. And he said, man, it was so loud. They were beating on the locker room when we came out on the field. We were, holy cow. I mean, I love high school football. But he had a question. He said, what about the Arkansas running back room? How deep are they? Because if you can't run the ball in the SEC, you have almost no chance.
Yeah, and obviously they lost a couple of good ones that either used up their eligibility, decided to point toward the draft, or left and went somewhere else. But Braylon Russell is going to be a workhorse for them. He was in the portal, out of the portal, in the portal, out of the portal. No more portal. Played in the Liberty Bowl. Did fairly well. They've got a couple of new guys in here that show some speed. Reed's also back from last year. I think they'll be okay there, but until we see them going up against an SEC foe, really, to be honest, Arkansas State, when they play the second game here in Little Rock this year, which is going to be a fascinating thing. They played the last night in baseball up here, and Arkansas State played really well and had Arkansas down for the longest, and then Arkansas came back and beat them. But you're going to get your best shot when you play some of these in-state schools, especially when you're not throwing your number one pitchers and all that during the midweek.
Butch Jones is back, Dudley.
He is.
I love it.
He'll bring his life champions to World Memorial State. I'm looking forward to it. There's some people in this state that don't like them playing in-state schools, but when you grow up on the Northeast Arkansas part of the state, which obviously I did.
Yeah.
Arkansas, I went to far more Arkansas State football, basketball games than I did Arkansas once because it was 30 minutes to Jonesboro,
Yeah.
and 4+ hours to Fayetteville. And I
Yeah.
also like go and see the AIC schools play. I have no problem with it. If you're scared, you need to get a dog. Because you if you can't handle the pressure of playing an in-state rival, then how are you going to handle it if you ever get into the what is it, 12 team, 16, 20 team playoffs, whatever it is now. So
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is fear doesn't stop death, it stops life. And I think both of y'all would agree, playing the in-state schools is great for fueling interest within the state. When Tennessee plays University of Memphis, God, it's a really, really big deal. I think Memphis has won one time in that series, but they'll never forget it in 1996 against Peyton Manning. Vince, we hadn't even talked, or Dudley, about baseball, but my God, was it 7-8 years ago on a Sunday afternoon when Tony Vitello announced he was taking the head job at Tennessee? Vince, you get to work with one of the greats, John Wilkerson, the great booming voice of Tennessee Vol baseball. I think you're great. I've seen you on TV with SEC Network doing some games and radio. You're a Swiss Army knife. You can do anything. You can write. You can broadcast. How much fun is it covering Tony Vitello? And I know you know him, Dudley, as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Checks in the mail for that kind of intro.
Venmo.
That's right.
Yeah,
Venmo,
cash out, baby. Zelle.
Yeah,
I got that too.
No snail mail checks, please. You got to get it to me quick.
That's right. It's in the mail. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it goes back to the success of the entire athletic department. It just makes a big difference whether you're announcing games or whether you're a sports talk show host and you're talking about them or writing about whatever the case may be. When the team is winning, that's what's best for business.
Yeah.
Fans, there's still some fans that think that, people that cover their team is out to get them. And they want to bring down the program and things like that. I'm like, you don't get it. The championships draw everybody in with interest.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to consume that content. When things are not going well, some people want to stay away, whether it's watching on TV or reading the articles or listening to it on the radio. Not everyone wants to be a part of that. So the fact that Tennessee is winning and having success in so many different sports, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. It makes the fans now more available to you because they cannot get enough of what you're talking about. I mean, we're talking about the basketball team in the portal. Well, if the team was coming off of a 14-win season and they were and the transfer portal was still a factor, they had to remake the roster, there wouldn't be quite the interest. But this team has been to back-to-back Elite Eights for the first time in program history.
Yeah.
And 3 straight Sweet 16s are better, which they hadn't done before. So they feel like they're so close. So that ramps up the interest now in the portal. So yeah, it's fun. And then, obviously being a part of a defending national champions in Tennessee, what they've been able to do this year. They obviously had the rough day and the doubleheader against A&M last week, but for them to follow up a championship season and be that locked in and that good this year is crazy. So those games are fun. There's always interest in football year round. Softball is performing well. Lady Vols had a great year under Kim Caldwell. So just being around and having fans interested in it really elevates your excitement level and now your standard to make sure you deliver what fans are wanting to know, and they're craving whatever they can about Tennessee athletics right now because there's so much success across the board.
Yeah, and we think that, we've never been here before. A couple of little pivotal moments in history. In 1923, you know how many members we had in the Southern Conference? 23.
Oh, okay.
23.
Well,
And it went all the way from Virginia to Texas and pretty much everywhere in between. And my dad will tell you in the 1950s, they're putting football on TV. Nobody will go to the games. In 1984, Chuck Ninus, the CFA, Oklahoma, and Georgia sued. Let's get all the games on TV. Nobody will go. You know what? Everybody's expanded their stadium 3 or 4 times since then. I think we're on the edge of some of the greatest times we've ever seen in sports. But, plans without action and follow through lead to a hell of a lot of anxiety. So, all right, we'll wrap it up. Both of y'all, absolutely awesome stuff. The energy on here, Vince, getting the two of y'all back together, talking about football, basketball. You just can't get any better than this. I absolutely love it. So, hogville.net, follow Dudley Dawson. Vince,
Hey, I want to say
I
one
love
thing.
this stuff.
Yeah, I want to say one thing before we get off here. Arkansas has Texas and Tennessee coming to Fayetteville, toward the end of the season. I want to let y'all know I'm not a ticket broker. I don't got any tickets. Quit calling me. Quit asking me. Ain't no tickets. So just I'm just letting you know. I'm not a season ticket holder. I don't buy regular tickets. I don't have any. So there.
So the dudhub.com address is not correct.
No.
All right. Sports Animal every morning, 6 to 9 Eastern. Vince is up. He has Duck Hunters hours, not Bankers hours, Duck Hunters hours. He is up early. Great stuff. True Grit journalism is alive and well. Love it. Thank you both for being on here with us. We'll see you next week. I'll close out and say something about our sponsors. Landers Ford people, LandersFordMemphis.com. They meet where Collierville and Memphis come together at Poplar and Houston Levee. The giant American flag flies proudly. Had to take it down a few days last week. It was all over the place about coming down. The storms, as you saw, we had some generational flooding and tornadoes in the area. They're back, open every day of the week except Sunday. Look, $500 off for SEC Sidelines audience members. They are the number one Ford dealership in the Mid-South for a lot of reasons. The service, the commitment, and the quality of the experience when you go to buy a new vehicle out there. Brad Bellamy, the general manager, and that team, my goodness, Don Kitchens and, Kent Ritchie, they are first class. They've been doing this a long time. Everybody, there's a lot of anxiety when you go on a car lot looking for a car, or truck, or SUV. They'll put you at ease. And the service department, if you got to have some work done, they'll pick you up, provide round trip transportation. Right down the street in Collierville, Tennessee. Get out there now. They're kind of move all the winter stuff. A 50% off sale going on right now. Pendleton, Schaefer, Barber, Filson, Duckhead, you name it, they've got it all there. Let me say this for executive producer Brendan Martin. Exceptional show as always. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go make something great happen today. Watch tonight on this channel, and then later today at 5 p.m. Eastern, AU Undercover right here as well. Buddy Martin Show tonight. Thank you.